Okay, it's 3 o'clock, so I call the RTA Board of Trustees meeting to order. The first item is a Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mary, will you please take the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Hoagie?
Here.
Ms. Hurd? Mr. Corrado?
Here.
Mr. Depp?
Here.
Ms. Hairston?
Here.
Ms. Howard?
Present.
Ms. Jones? Mr. Lumpkin?
Here.
Mr. Williamson?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Our bylaws now require us to approve our agenda, and when the agenda was mailed out well in advance of the meeting, since then there will be 2 items added to the agenda, one of which is a new business, item number 1, and also we have a guest speaker who would like to address us today. So are there any additional changes to the minutes, to the agenda? If there aren't any, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Agenda is approved. The minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting of August 14th was mailed out well in advance in today's meeting. Unless a board member requires a reading of those minutes, I will entertain any additions or corrections to those minutes. Hearing no requests for the reading of those minutes and hearing no changes or corrections to those minutes, let the record show the minutes stand approved as submitted. Okay, the first item on our agenda is a guest who would like to address the meeting. It's Ms. Reheka Kurup. I'm not sure I pronounced that correctly, and I apologize if I did not. Please come forward. Okay.
To one Dayton, ready, set, soar. And with the board's permission, I would like to recognize Tracy Hanlon-Rohr of RTA for the outstanding commitment that RTA showed to the children of our community this summer with the Read on RTA program. Tracy has been a great leader and partner in our work. Ready, Set, Soar works to mitigate summer slide. Children who do not have access to books through the summer months fall behind, and RTA has been a great partner for last 2 summers. But this particular summer in 2015, the goal for RTA was to collect 10,000 books, and Tracy was a champion who went past that goal, and RTA distributed 20,000 books to the children in the city. And the bus, Tracy was going on the RTA on the road bus to different neighborhoods and, holding story times for children, and really has been an outstanding partner. So we are just so pleased to be partnering with RTA, with the leadership, Mark's leadership and Tracy's leadership in taking this program to such a great level. So I would just like to recognize on behalf of community partners that form the Read On Committee for Tracy's leadership and partnership.
All right.
While they're doing the photo op here, we've talked about this probably every month during the summer about the progress on this program. It's been such great fun being partnered with the library and others in Ready, Set, Soar. But I think what's most fun is when you're downstairs or in one of our other hubs and you see a mother and a child taking books off the shelf. It's really cool, and the kids get excited, and they know they get to keep this book and take it home. We've certainly had great leadership, a lot of work really throughout the organization, especially in the marketing group heading this up. But it's taken everyone. We've had operations folks involved, the ambassadors get involved, maintenance and making sure we get the shelving and everything we need. But just been one of those really nice feel-good projects for us to be involved with. and it's been fun for every one of us. We certainly want to thank Tracy for all she's done this year. I was worried when they set the goal that we would reach the goal. That's it was a large number, but to surpass it by that much was so much greater, and as usual, well received within the community. So thanks to Tracy, and thanks to Ritika and everybody at Ready, Set, Soar. It's a great group and great for us to be associated with. So we're really happy about that and want to continue that in the future.
Tracy, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we thank you for representing RTA in such an outstanding manner. RTA does so many wonderful things that never get brought to the forefront, and we don't know about it. So thank you so much, Vitika. Thank you so much for coming and addressing the board and recognizing Tracy for what she and the RTA has done. Thank you very much.
Helped me unload books one morning. Do you remember?
I do.
Yeah.
You had a truck full of books.
I had a truck full of books. So it's been a huge effort on everyone's part. So thanks to everyone.
Thank you. Okay, moving along to the committee reports. The first committee report is from the Finance Personnel Committee.
The Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committees met for a jointly held meeting on August 25th, and as a result, the Finance Personnel Committee is recommending one action item for the board's consideration. Action item number 2, Spence Environmental Consulting Incorporated. During 2015, RTA has spent $21,544 under small purchasing procedures with Spence Environmental Consulting Incorporated for environmental services. Specifically, this relates to leaks or spills of hazardous material at RTA facilities. Also, a July 2015 site visit identified additional work that needs to be done related to soil borings and soil testing, as well as groundwater sampling and testing. This additional work costs $5,045. Mr. Bill Ingram provided a detailed explanation at our committee meeting, and the supporting information is included in today's board package. Bill is available to answer any questions the board may have at this time. Based upon the recommendation of the Finance Personnel Committee, I move to ratify the $26,589 paid to Spence Environmental Consultants Incorporated under small purchasing procedures. Further, I move to award a $20,000 allowance for interim environmental consulting that may be needed for a total award of $46,589. Funds for environmental consulting services are included in the maintenance operating budget.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Sharon Hairston, second by Sharon Howard. Yeah, are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Action item number 2 is unanimously approved.
That concludes the action items for the committee. However, as discussion items, Ms. Stanford reported that sales tax receipts continue to be very positive, up 6.1% for May compared to last year and 6.5% better than budget. The recent August sales tax holiday will have an effect on RTA's receipts, and it will be interesting to see the results. Ms. Stanford reported that the volatility of the stock market and the oil prices is an issue of concern. Ms. Stanford will be reaching out to Montgomery County to gather feedback from them concerning their thoughts on recent and future economic conditions. Mr. Williamson asked what is driving these positive sales tax numbers, and Ms. Stanford stated that managed health care is a big driver. She also stated that future online sales taxes will help as well. Mr. Hoagie also pointed out the uncertainty of future car sales. The July 2015 financial statements were discussed. Ms. Stanford reported sales tax receipts are up, but there have been declines in operating revenues. Some of it is due to a decline in cash-paying riders and a shift to using passes. A 2% wage increase for the ATU is planned, but no agreement with the union has been established. We have realized some positive prices in fuel, but we are recognizing some losses with our fuel hedging program. An update on Gatsby 68 was also discussed, which is the new pension accounting standards. Ms. Stanford described a new pension accounting standards. She described the new pension accounting standards that will affect our agency's accounting. An unfunded portion of $28 million will need to be set aside in our budgeting process. Mr. Hoagie mentioned that the state overestimated investment returns on pension funds. An 8% expected return has not been realized. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Sharon. Are there any comments or questions? The $28 million does not include an adjustment for using what some of us believe is an overly aggressive return of 8%. On Saturday's Wall Street Journal, there was a feature article that addressed that particular issue, and some jurisdictions have already lowered their estimated return. And if the return is lowered, that means the pension liability, the unfunded pension liability, increases dramatically. So besides the $28 million that we have to set aside at the moment, it is my feeling that somewhere down the road, and I don't know when, Ohio will follow and change the unrealistic assumption that of 8% return, and therefore we will probably have to recognize another substantial liability somewhere down the road. So we have to keep that in mind as we prepare long-term for various items here at the RTA. So it's going to be an interesting time. That $28 million is a lot of money that we thought we were able to have for various purposes. Now suddenly we have to set it aside for pension purposes. Okay, are there any other questions or comments that people would like to add? Hearing none, we then move on. We then move on to the Planning Committee report. Janet could not make the meeting, so I will report on Janet's behalf. We had two meetings with the Planning Committee. One was strictly the Planning Committee on August 20th, and then we had a joint meeting of the Finance, Personnel, and Planning Committee on August 25th. No action items were taken there, so we had nothing to approve at those to bring forward to the committee here for approval. On the August 20th meeting, strictly with the Planning Committee, Mr. Eckler and Rick Bailey provided us an update with the strategic plan that is currently underway. The strategic plan is for the years 2016 to 2018. Highlights included presentations on the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and threats that are facing the RTA, as well as discussions of some of the economic, social, and theological factors that will affect our agency in the future. It was also recommended that it is important to focus and convey to the community RTA's economic development contribution to the region, as well as pursuing technology and regional partnerships that we continue to help us move forward. And then we had the joint committee meeting, as I mentioned, on August 25th. Frank Eckler, at that point in time, updated the entire, both committees, the joint committee meetings of what took place at the Planning Committee on August 20th. He also provided updates on various student outreach events, Read on RTA event, we heard some of that today, and RTA involvement in the annual Runway Fest held at Wright Brothers Airfield near Austin Landing. Ms. Conley is here today if there are any questions that people would like to address to her regarding some of the items that I just mentioned. Are there any items for discussion or comment? Hearing none, we will then move right along. We now have the CEO's report. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple items of informational purpose. Obviously, we had a schedule change recently. We've implemented the new services that the board approved several months back. And we also have concurrently a couple different evaluations going on of how that is working out on the street in terms of what kind of feedback are we getting from customers, from bus operators, things like that. So that is going on as we speak. We've had a little uptick in work with OPTA, our state association, which has been interesting, primarily related to strategic planning for that group. What do we want the association to be down the road? But for whatever reason recently, a couple of individuals within the state, one being a state representative and the other, the CEO of a transit system, have proposed new methods of state funding, both of which have little chance of passing in a Republican-controlled House and Senate. Good that they want to do this, but not necessarily as well thought out as we would like, but we're obviously supporting and then talking about, can we use these things as leverage to continue the conversation with the current leadership, because we don't see that changing in the near future, but we'll continue to do that. I know you saw in this morning's paper the story about the produce market that Bob's been working furiously with Montgomery County officials to locate here at Right Stop Plaza. It's a great project. Just to let you know, the opening of that's going to be delayed a little bit. We're not sure of an exact date at this point. It was originally scheduled for late this week, but it'll happen soon, and when it does, I think that'll be a great addition. There were a lot of rumors flying around about what was going in downstairs, everything from a coffee shop to what turned out to be the truth, and that's the produce market. I think it's a great idea. We'll see how it works. The project's going to be managed, as you saw, by Homeful. That's a good organization. If you didn't know Homeful, it might ring a bell with you, because we've done some work with them on the past on the vehicle side to assist them with some transportation work that they do. So great project, and we look forward to seeing that one through. The final item I have, I would defer to new business, and that's the request for a new business item that we'd like action on today.
Okay. Mark, please proceed then with the new business item number 1.
Happy to do it. I know the board is aware that from time to time, we loan the expertise we have within our organization in a variety of ways to other organizations, and we do it because it's the right thing to do, and especially regionally, when some of our neighboring systems need help. We do that sometimes on our own, sometimes at the request of the Federal Transit Administration. We've done a number of things for the Greene County operation, and the action item we have in front of you today is the result of the most recent assistance provided by our own Bob Brzezinski. I don't know how he does all these things as a part-time employee for us, but he seems to get them done. We usually have net positive results when we get involved with these issues, because sometimes it has to do with grant funds that either they're not able to deal with, or the purpose of the original project has changed. In today's example, the net effect is that we're going to be receiving basically 5 new Project Mobility buses for almost nothing, not even the traditional local share. And that's why we have a new business item in front of you today. The FTA preferred that this be done as a vehicle transfer as opposed to the funds being transferred. So it makes sense. We've got on the books this year to order quite a few new Project Mobility buses. This actually gives us a head start in doing that. So that's what we're recommending today. The resolution is somewhat a formality, but what it does is basically document for the Federal Transit Administration that we do desire to accept these 5 free buses. Now, if we don't, we can talk about that later if you want, but obviously there's a great value here to us, and we're making it clear that we're going to provide Green Cats with $12,346 to cover the additional costs they incur in local share and making the funds available for the project, and we will assume the liability for the full remaining federal use requirements, which we would with any vehicle in our fleet. So long story short, unless there are questions, I would like to recommend approval of resolution number 2015-9-1, authorizing the acceptance of a transfer of 5 FTA-funded small transit buses from Green Cats upon concurrence of the Federal Transit Administration. Furthermore, that you authorize me to provide all necessary documents deemed necessary to fulfill all requirements of the transfer.
I'll entertain a motion that we accept the
I have
CEO's
a-
recommendation.
I have a
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Ed, originally made by Sharon. Okay, are there any questions or comments?
I just want to confirm, this 5 buses for $12,000? Is that
That's
the way that works?
basically it.
That's all I wanted to confirm. Thank you.
I mean, we've had other instances where we've helped to make funds flow better in the region, and typically, there's always a net positive effect to us, especially if there are funds that are going to lapse. And, give credit where credit's due, and we don't do this often enough, but, since Bob's been doing our grant work around here, there have been times when I've gotten a call from Mary Ann Freed at ODOT or the Federal Transit Administration saying, we've got some money that's lapsing, do you have a project? And again, you could look no further than downstairs at the bike share project. There's another one where we were able to make that happen, mainly because of the reputation we've developed, thanks to people like Bob that work here. And Bob's going to work here about 10 more years. I don't know if he's told you that.
Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions?
I was trying to get that into the minutes, Bob.
I have another question, though. Can you let the board know in advance when the produce market opens?
We will, absolutely.
We now get to the nominating committee report. Vince.
Okay, as chairperson of this year's nominating committee, I'm happy to report that we met after last month's board meeting. That was August. We are in September, okay? And as a result of that, the committee unanimously voted to nominate for reelection both Franz and Adrian to a third term as president and vice president for the 2015-2016 RTA calendar year. Since this is a third term nomination, and I haven't been around long enough, but I'm not sure there have been 3 terms served, I took it upon myself to poll all of the other Board of Trustees members who were not on the nominating committee, and I'm happy to support that they also unanimously supported reelection of you and Adrian for a third term. So congratulations and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you very much, and I think we need board action to approve that. Is there a motion to accept the nominating committee's report?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Our bylaws allow nominations to be made from the floor. Are there any board members who would like to nominate someone else to the office of president or vice president? Hearing none, we will then vote on the resolution as submitted by Vince. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Well, thank you very much, and I'm truly honored to be president of the board. And while I'm not expressing the same sentiment, but I couldn't help recall when Pope Francis was elected pope, the first thing he said to the cardinals who elected him, he says, "I forgive you for what you just did." So, although that's not my sentiment, I'm honored to be your president. Thank you very much. Okay, we now get to public comments. And before we proceed, I think we have some people who may not have commented in the past, so I think it's important we review the general ground rules. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to make your presentation. The light at the end of the dais here will show you when the light goes on yellow. It will show you that you have 30 seconds left to complete your report, and when it's red, you will have to terminate. However, we also, the rules state that you have to speak on your behalf, and you do not speak on someone else's behalf, so that's also important. If that is the case, I will rule one out of order, and the comments will be stricken from the minutes. So with that, we'll first go to Sandra. Pardon me?
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming. The microphone is coming, yes.
My name is Sandra Smothers. Can you hear me? My name is Sandra Smothers. I live 215 McDaniel Street, Dayton, Ohio. I'm here to speak about Project Mobility. Mr. Donahue, I've had a trip on August the 15th, August the 29th. I was picked up on time going, and also September the 5th. But here lately, you can't get picked up, and Saturdays is usually my day. I use Project Mobility every weekend. 6 o'clock, had a 4:30 pickup each time, and let's see, the 15th was 6 o'clock, 29th it was 5:30, the 5th, which was last Saturday, 6 o'clock. This is getting ridiculous and out of hand. I don't know if somebody's going in there changing trips or what, but I'll be waiting and waiting, and I've had to call 3 or 4 times, and it's just getting ridiculous down there. Sometimes they're not even answering the telephone down there. So I don't know what's going on. I would appreciate if you get it straightened out down there.
I take it you have not called complaining on those trips?
Every time I've called, I can't never get nobody, so that's how I'm down here.
We have some folks here that'd be happy to talk to you before you.
Okay.
The next person I have is Gary Rice.
My name is Gary Rice. I live at 553 Daytona Parkway. I'm having a problem with the transfers as well as the timing of the new schedule. I'm in an area where I cannot choose whether to go north or south. I'm on the Route 12 where the bus comes up into that apartment complex. I have to continue going north. And if I need a transfer, it causes a problem with some of these drivers where they want me to pay again at the hospital. I cannot choose to go south from that location. So there needs to be some kind of conjunction to that rule about the transfers where if you're already going north and you have no option but to continue north to end up going south toward downtown, that rule, you're exempt from it. Because I live there and I have no choice but to get on at that particular stop. And my other concern is being down at the South Hub. The new schedule of the 24, I have to come up that hill. And when the wintertime comes, it's supposed to be at the West Town Hub at 8:51. And the bus I do need on Sunday is supposed to be there at 8:53. And when the wintertime comes, it's going to be hard for that bus to get up there. And I probably will not make it like I need to get to my next destination. And I don't have a choice to go any earlier because I'm getting off work from one place and I have to be at the next place based on that particular time. So that's going to become a problem, as well as the transfer for that. Because the transfer runs out at a certain time, and they won't be wanting to hear my mouth about that.
Thank you. Thank you. Your comments have been noted.
And Gary, I would encourage you to talk to some of the folks here before you leave today, because it sounds like your transfer is a valid transfer. The transfer is good to complete a one-way trip. So we may have an operator issue there, and that's something that Jim and Brandon need to take care of. And you can feel free to talk to Michelle, the young lady with the microphone, on the scheduling times for the connection at Westtown to see if there's anything we can do to make that easier. Those, just for the board's benefit, especially since 2007 when service was first reduced, some of the outer area transfers are much tougher to make simply because there's less frequent service on some of the lines. So sometimes they can be a challenge, but maybe there's an alternative too. And if anybody would know, Michelle would know. So.
Thank you. Ron Tillman.
Good afternoon. My name is Ron Tillman. I live at 6183 Parr Drive. It is, if you're familiar with Westbrook and Salem, it's the condos that sit at the Meadowbrook Country Club. There, I am legally blind, and I use the Bus Route Plus Project Mobility. The Route 34 is what I've been using, and as of last week, Route 34 was changed to add frequency to the Walmart area there at Hoke Road. And they also added buses to service my neighborhood. However, there is only one stop for my neighborhood, and it is at Westbrook and Salem. And they have sacrificed that particular stop with the new additions, with the frequencies. However, the bus comes on the weekend. to that same stop. The added stop was to provide for service to the old Castlebrook apartments there on Westbrook. And they have moved the stop from Westbrook and Salem, which is a parking lot, which is there where I can be dropped off to catch the bus, to in front. They placed 2 stops in front of the apartments to those customers, which probably is more advantageous, and I can agree with, because there are a lot of your customers that come from that apartment complex. However, the second stop is a very dangerous stop. It is to service as the bus comes back headed east down Westbrook, which is an incline, which leaves probably about 36 inches or less from the actual street. So I would have to cross Salem and Westbrook to get the bus to go eastbound, or I run into the problem this gentleman has. I have to pay to come back to loop around. So I've been added frequency, but I do now. I also have access to Walmart, so I'm not disenchanted. I would just like for a review of the frequency with the route during the week to service the stop that has been there existing for over. I've been catching this bus for 6 years. And from this bus, I've been able to maintain my job with my disability. And it has only been a week. And again, I'm not thoroughly disenchanted, but the frequency during the week is what I'm concerned with, because there is none. And it has an accessibility route. They have cut off the backside of Union Road. So if they use Union Road and you have your driver make that left-hand turn to come down Salem, we maybe 3 to 4 times a day, or maybe 5 times a day during the week, I probably wouldn't be here. But it is a problem.
Ron, I'm going to encourage you to connect with Michelle before you leave, just to have a more thorough conversation about the specific location on this stop. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for making your presentations to us today. Next item on our agenda is board members' comments. Do any of the board members have comments? I would like to just make one. The Dayton Railway Historical Society meets this Thursday at the Patterson House, which is the Patterson Estate just opposite, across the street from the Pine Club. And the topic, it might be of interest to people here at the RTA, is the final days of Dayton streetcar operations in September of 1947. So there's a lot of history there. If that's of interest to you, the presentation is free, and it starts at 7:30, again, this Thursday at the Patterson House. That's all I have to report. Are there any other members who would like to say something?
I'd just like to thank Mark and ask him to continue. Usually during board meetings, when we have public comments and people have issues, he follows up and lets us know what the disposition has been. And I would just thank him for doing that and encourage him to continue to do so.
Excellent comment. Thank you, Sharon.
Just a quick comment that I think that's tremendous that the RTA is a partner to help children read in the summer, something we've been a part of personally as a family, something that's really, really needed in our community to close that gap for some of our kids that just don't have that opportunity. So that's something that should really be applauded. And I appreciate it and want to just say thanks one more time.
Good. I don't think there's a need for an executive session. However, I'd like to point out to everyone's attention, our next board meeting is also being held on a Thursday. So in the month of October, it is Thursday, October the 8th. And also, I encourage everyone to look at our website as well as our notices in the paper. The board allows us to omit a board meeting, and if we don't have items that have to be approved at the board meeting, we will not hold the board meeting that month. So stay tuned for those announcements, and certainly our website will have that announcement if we decide not to have a board meeting. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in... Yes.
May I interject the change in time of the committee meeting, please?
Please.
I had o'clock on the
Good point.
second page.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary, for reminding us. We decided, and it was in the interest of everyone's time, that our committee meetings, while the agenda says start at 9 o'clock, they will start at 8:30 instead of 9 o'clock. This allows the people who have to go back to their jobs some more time to get back there a little bit earlier. So thank you, Mary. That's a good catch. I appreciate that correction. So the meetings will start at 8:30. And the next committee meeting, which is a jointly held meeting, will be on September 22nd, and the one after that will be on October 20th. We probably will know at the September 22nd meeting if there will be a need for a meeting in October. So stay tuned, and I just want to make sure that it doesn't become routine, that you automatically show up every Tuesday, the first or second Tuesday of the month, here at 3 o'clock. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.